What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James MENNIE. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, I see a breaking news story here. Denis Coderre coming in with a new poll on his chances to be Liberal leader. What's this about?
Well, it's let me tease it a little bit.
Okay.
I won't give you Coderre's number, although he is trailing the snowball in hell, Aaron. It would seem that when he was the only horse in the race, he was polling about 29%. He is, according to this Leger survey that was conducted. It's 3 days of polling. It was finished yesterday. He is polling at 12%. Mm-hmm. That is 7 points higher than rumored candidates Carl Blackburn of the Conseil du Patronat and Antoine Tardif of the mayor of Victoriaville. But you know who the big leader is, Aaron? And far and away, 30 points. Guess who's leading? Marc Tanguay is leading. That's who. Okay? The guy who isn't even interested in doing the job is leading the pack very, very convincingly. And this is an important method and message for this increasingly, arrogant Quebec Liberal Party. You don't get to sit on your hands and say, we'll let you know what's going on. If Marc Tanguay is polling at 30%, that is very simply because he is in the news every other day. Right. He's finally figured out that he has to be in the news every other day. And he's doing a pretty decent job as interim head of the Liberal Party and as head of the official opposition in the National Assembly. So I know you mentioned it yesterday that Denis Coderre, my mind is made up. I'll let you know when I'm back from my trip. Maybe his mind maybe he'll do a little more reflection with in light of these numbers. We'll see. But yeah, the fact is, I don't think Denis Coderre's, how can I put it? I think the big mo has left Denis Coderre.
Well, Jim, it's only June 4th today. We have 17 more days to wait. And I asked you yesterday, you think this is a foregone conclusion? You'll simply say, yes, he will. And you said you weren't so sure. I think he will. So we'll see.
Okay.
You don't think he will, right?
Listen, on top of it, I'm sure the ego says he will. Let's see what the backers say. It costs money to do this, Aaron.
But by the way, if and when he makes a decision, he's telling us that's going to be in a couple of weeks from now. Will it or won't it necessarily have to be after having discussed this with people within the party? Or is just Denis Coderre, ego being what it is, saying, you know what, I've seen the polls, I'm still doing pretty good compared to the guy who said he doesn't want to lead the party, and he'll just say, I'm going to run.
Well, listen, I don't have the rules at my fingertips. I know you just can't walk up and say, yeah, I'm going to run to be a Liberal leader. He's going to have to put down some kind of a deposit. He's going to have to sign up X number of members. And as I say, it costs money. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes a team. Does he have all that lined up? I don't know. Okay. But quite frankly, for a guy, his candidacy or lack of candidacy is referred to repeatedly in this report on the TVA website as a striptease, and that's the problem. People get bored after a while. As I said yesterday, come back to us when you have some news. But the only reason I'm talking about this now is because it's clear that whatever luster was on this campaign has dimmed. Even though you can't accuse Denis Coderre of having ignored it, he keeps trying to push his potential candidacy, trying to keep us on tenterhooks. But apparently people have just shrugged and moved on and hitched their wagon to Marc Tanguay, the guy who doesn't even want to do the job.
Yeah, you don't think there's a chance in hell, do you, that Marc Tanguay, seeing this now, poll after poll after poll, decides, you know what, maybe I do want this job?
I once covered a very long legal proceeding when a lawyer, I forget his name, but he would ask a question and the witness would say, it's possible. And then he'd turn around and always say, sir, anything is possible. And in this case, anything is possible. Yeah. I think Marc Tanguay could take a look at this and say, listen, if I've got a shot, if it's going to do good for the party, and listen, between these numbers and Francois Legault's ongoing, it's like you could put this guy in chains and spot weld him to an iron wall, and he'd still find a way to walk off a political cliff. He was doing it again today. So you know what? I think by and large, Marc Tanguay might be looking at this somewhat differently than he did, say, a few months before.
Fair enough. All right, let me move on to Francois Legault. Now here we go. Immigration, part of the reason Quebec can't provide, in his opinion, services. What's this? Is there a new development here?
He's playing a very, very dangerous game is what he's doing. He was interviewed by Paul Arcan on 98.5 this morning, and he was very careful the way he chose his words. He said, I'm not blaming immigrants. I'm not blaming immigrants. It's the Trudeau government, but there's 560,000 of them here. It's affecting our ability to deliver mental health services for the homeless, to help the homeless, to provide teachers for kids, to provide medical services. In other words, I'm not saying they're to blame, but they're a big factor here. And I'm very sorry. I think there are a lot of people out there who will not make that distinction. I think there are a lot of people out there who are just going to blame them. And the opposition, the Liberals, the PQ, and Quebec Solidarity wasted no time. They flat out accused him of scapegoating immigrants for problems that have been endemic to Quebec for a very long time. And I can tell you from experience, I mean, I've certainly covered the homelessness issue for decades. This is not an effect. This is not an effect for the fallout of immigration. The lack of teachers, the lack of healthcare, the lack of a coherent healthcare system. That's not because of the presence of immigrants. That's because of the presence of a lot of Quebec politicians, not just Francois Legault, but certainly including him, that have allowed the system to decay and atrophy into what we see today. Every single day, it seems to be we've got to have some extraordinary move to keep this system on life support. But to turn around and say, well, yeah, the explosion in homelessness and mental health issues, you cannot help but see the relationship with the explosion in temporary immigrants. I think you are playing a very, very dangerous game, Mr. Legault. Let's hope this doesn't blow up in your face.
Last thing I want to touch on is the situation with foreign interference. We're finding out now the latest in this, which has been going on and on and on, is that it seems some politicians, including some senators perhaps, I love the way they frame this, Jim, wittingly or unwittingly, we're actually working with foreign interference people here.
I got to tell you, that doesn't scare me so much as the non-answers I'm getting from this government right now. Yesterday, it was Monsieur Leblanc, Public Security Minister, Dominic Leblanc, saying, well, you got to look at how these things are framed and blah, blah, blah. Today, it's Chrystia Freeland saying, look, we know it's a new problem. Well, Canadians aren't stupid. We have to let the Justice Department, blah. It is not a new problem. If some MP, if some senator is comfortable enough to be on the take, and that doesn't necessarily mean for money, but to be on the take from a foreign government, you can bet, this has been kicking around for a while, you can bet that there's been some infrastructure of corruption that allows an MP or a senator to feel so confident that they can do this and get away with it. And quite frankly, given the reaction from the government that I'm seeing in the past 48 hours, I think they're 100% right to think so. This is preposterous that we can't find out who did this, that we should shut up and we'll pat you on the head. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. I think there's a hell of a lot to see there. And I think if the federal opposition parties are not baying like wolves right now, it's because they don't know whether their own people were involved in this, or if they do know, they don't want to stand up and point the finger. So we've got a huge problem here. And it seems to me that the Canadian political structure, not just one party, all of it is turning around saying, shut up, mind your own business, nothing to see here. I think this is absolutely scandalous.
I would just simply ask, Jim, as much as we talk about this, and I've had Robert Fife on a couple of times, it seems every time there's like an Angus Reid survey, this is not even on the radar for most Canadians, which is, I think, is part of the problem here, is it not?
Well, they've been low, and you can see why, because they've been lowballing it from the get-go. Plus, up until now, it's been very weird in terms of, well, what exactly let's face it, what exactly is the Chinese government alleged to have done? What exactly is it the Indian government is alleged to have done? Indeed, what is it some American factors are alleged to have done in terms of interfering in Canadian politics? We never have the details. It seems very vague, very kind of airy-fairy inside baseball. All of a sudden, we've got this report, which came out of left field as far as I'm concerned, telling us straight up there are MPs, you're saying senators, who were working for foreign governments to their advantage. Excuse me, that is not a part of the job description. Yeah. And unless, my God, I don't even know what we can do now. Do we appoint? Can we appoint an absolutely independent inquiry to get to the bottom of this and make it public? Because right now, we're talking about a lack of confidence in our political structure. This information certainly doesn't add to it.
James MENNIE at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.